Leadville in 1880 was a city carved out of silver and sin, a boomtown perched at 10,000 feet above sea level, where fortunes rose and fell as fast as a gambler's last hand. Saloons glowed like lanterns in a storm, dance halls rattled till dawn, and gun smoke mixed with the thin mountain air. Into this chaos rode a stranger in a black coat and battered hat, a leather Bible tucked beneath one arm. Reverend Nathaniel Cross, a preacher with a voice like thunder and a past he never spoke of. Leadville needed order. Or at least, that's what he believed God had sent him to restore. The preacher's arrival. The moment Cross stepped off the stagecoach, the town watched him like a wolf watches a lamb. But Cross wasn't soft. His stare carried a weight that made even the hardest miners shut their mouths. Within a week, the old opera house was echoing with his sermons. Men who hadn't prayed in years sat in the front row. Ladies of the night slipped in through the back, hopping no one would see. Something about the preacher stirred the town, not fear but conviction. But conviction is dangerous in a place built on vice. And someone took offense. The first body. It happened just after midnight behind the Silver Dollar Saloon. The first body. Brett Hollister, gambler, cheat, and local troublemaker, found knife through the throat, a page from a Bible pinned to his chest. A page ripped from Reverend Cross's own sermons. That morning, half the town whispered that God had come to punish Leadville. The other half whispered something darker. The preacher's people have turned fanatics. Cross stood in the street, jaw tight, eyes burning. "This is not the work of God," he said. "This is the work of a man who fears him." But the killings continued. The fires spread. One by one, Leadville's most corrupt citizens fell: a crooked sheriff's deputy, a sadistic mine foreman, a saloon keeper who ran girls like cattle. Each murder more brutal than the last, each body staged as if struck down by divine judgment. And each time, the killer left pages from Cross's own sermons, torn, blood-splattered, and twisted into warnings. Before long, Cross's followers, miners, widows, lonely mothers, and broken men seeking redemption, were rounded up by local vigilantes. Leadville was turning on itself, and the preacher knew he was next. The trap is sprung. On a snowy night, Cross gathered his flock in the opera house, the wind howling like a wounded spirit through the broken shutters. "Someone," he said, "is trying to burn this town down, not with fire but with fear." But before he could say more, the doors slammed open. Torches roared. A mob stormed inside, led by Marshal Tully Briggs, a man as crooked as the silver veins he guarded. "We know what you're doing, preacher," Briggs spat. "You brought a cult into my town." Cross met his gaze without blinking. "If I wanted blood, Marshal, I'd have started with yours." But behind Briggs, a gunshot cracked. A figure fell through the doorway, pale, shaking, blood-soaked. Eli Carter, Cross's youngest follower. "Reverend," he rasped, it wasn't us. The killer, he's..." Another shot silenced him. Smoke drifted in, and a shadow stepped forward. The real killer. The murderer wasn't a zealot. He wasn't a rival preacher. He wasn't even a believer. It was Lucien Graves, the wealthy mine owner who controlled half of Leadville's economy and wanted the other half. The murders were never about sin. They were about power. Every victim had opposed Graves. Every death tightened his grip on the town. Framing the preacher's followers was the final step: wipe out the one force uniting the people, then take over everything else. Graves smirked beneath the brim of his expensive coat. "You gave these people hope, Reverend. I can't have hope in my mines. Hope makes men unprofitable." He raised his gun. "And now you die." The judgment. But Cross wasn't unarmed. And he wasn't alone. His followers, bruised, frightened, but loyal, surged forward. A torch crashed. Flames leapt across the curtains. Screams filled the opera house as fire raced up the rafters. Cross tackled Graves through a window, both men smashing into the snow outside. The gun skidded beneath a horse. Graves lunged, but Cross struck first, bringing the man down with a strength born of rage and righteousness. "You murdered the innocent," Cross growled. Graves spat blood. "It's just business." Cross looked at the burning opera house, at the terrified families inside. "No," he said. "Not anymore." The aftermath. When dawn rose, Leadville was silent. Half the opera house had burned to the ground, but the preacher's people had survived. Graves did not. It was ruled self-defense, though some said Cross should have let the fire judge the man. But Cross wasn't a killer. Not then, not ever. He stayed long enough to rebuild the church, then left Leadville as quietly as he'd arrived, a lone rider disappearing into the thin Colorado sunlight. Some say he went on to redeem other towns. Others say he returned to a past he'd been running from. But everyone agrees. For one brutal winter in 1880, Reverend Nathaniel Cross saved Leadville not with sermons, but with fire of his own.